welcome to today's edition of Bump to Business Owner. I'm your host, Caroline Marshall, and today a huge welcome to Maria Bettis. Maria is a mummy of two and business owner, leading the way in promoting confidence and conscious style. From a career in finance, looking after high net worth individuals at Coutts, to a fashion career at Harrods, now turned business owner. I know there will be many women who want to leave the corporate world roles to follow their creativity and passion. If so, this is the podcast for you. Well, welcome, Maria. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And I have to say, like, your background at Coutts and things, looking after high net worths and leaving such a corporate world role at Harrods and things, I think it's so interesting because I know so many women and mothers will relate to this. And I like to start this podcast by hearing a little bit about what you did before you started your business. So do tell us what that was like, because you had an interesting career.
Yeah, and I actually loved my career as well. I look back and I think actually I'm quite fortunate to have done the roles that I did. I did the right roles at the right time, if that makes sense. So I didn't go to university. I went straight to work, and a small bank called Coutts that I'd never heard of, and kind of worked my way up within Coutts, which obviously look after high net worth individuals. And I was there a long time. I was there, I was part of the furniture. So like 16 years. And because I love fashion, I ended up being in the sort of creative team, so looking after individuals in sports and entertainment, which was lovely, like creatives. And I kind of felt like you kind of gravitate towards people that you kind of have synergy with. So I was looking after creative people, which I love. I like to think I'm quite creative myself, but I was helping them, with their finances and helping them with something that maybe they needed more support with. So I was in finance, but because I love fashion, I also managed, when I was a private banker, sort of created a bit of a niche for myself in the fashion industry. So I also looked after sort of ultra high net worth individuals in the sort of fashion world as well.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, I just learned so much. I met so many amazing people. But I think as you kind of get to a point in your career, I'd been there so long, I'd only ever known finance. And I kind of thought to myself, actually, I want a bit of a change. So I kind of spoke to one of my clients and sort of said, look, thinking about moving away from finance. I've been here so long. I feel like, I want a family at some point. I feel like now's my opportunity to maybe have a bit of a career change before my life completely changes. And it's very weird, actually. A lot of people talk about manifesting now, but I remember when I was going through this process, I remember thinking, I want to work like maybe in somewhere like Harrods. And I had this vision of myself managing the personal shoppers at Harrods. But at this point, I had no connections or anything. And I mentioned it to someone and they were saying to me, that will never happen, Maria. You can't go from finance to retail. Like, you're going to have to get another job in finance if you move away. And then sort of months later, this client basically put me in touch with Harrods, and they created a role for me there. And then 6 months later, I ended up managing the personal shoppers at Harrods. So
you definitely manifested that. I'm sorry.
Totally manifested it. So then, more exposure to the fashion world, really, and the world of style and dressing and what motivates people to buy. It was incredible experience.
So that's fantastic. And so how did it work? When did you decide to become a business owner, essentially? Because you had, working for Coutts and Harrods are two very corporate roles. And I think something to really discuss from that as well is how if you work in quite large corporate companies that you only focus on your role, and then as a business owner, you do everything. But yeah, what happens? Babies or business first?
So I had babies first. So I was at Harrods when I had both my children, actually. I took a maternity leave. I went back. So I think lots of things shift when you have a child. And I went back to Harrods. There'd been lots of changes when I went back. And I loved it still, but maybe didn't have the same focus as I had before. Very long hours in luxury retail for anyone that works there. And as a family, we were thinking about relocating to the coast. And all the stars kind of aligned at one point. And I thought, you know what, if we're moving, now's the time. If I want to do something that's more flexible, we might touch on this later, but my child has special needs, and she has a lot of appointments and things. And I got to the stage where I thought, actually, I've worked in the corporate world for so long, I could do something that is more flexible, but also I was starting to get more of a passion for sustainability. And working at Harrods, whilst it was amazing, it potentially didn't align with actually how I was feeling about fashion, the fashion industry and style and the way that people shop. I was kind of seeing the extreme ends of it. Yeah. And I was actually finding that I was part of the problem, in that part of my role was to encourage people to buy things that they potentially didn't need because we needed to hit targets.
Yeah.
And whilst, I had a lot of experience, it got to the stage where I thought, actually, I think for myself, I need to have a little bit of a shift in my career.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You're second woman I've had on this podcast who's come from a fashion background and felt after children, their values haven't aligned with the fashion industry they once worked in. So when you first started, your business was Accentuated Pre-Love, was that right? Yes. And so what gave you this idea to start this business? Because I'm sure it'd be so interesting, because I think there'll be a lot of women who want to start businesses like that. And so it'll be interesting how you started the process of going down the luxury secondhand market.
Yeah, so it started actually with a wardrobe detox. So I did some wardrobe detoxes for myself. I've been doing, I do a regular detox in my own wardrobe. And then one of my friends said, can you help me with my wardrobe? And we sat down and I talked to her about how to shop better. We went through her wardrobe and she was like, oh my gosh, this has literally changed my life. She worked in Westfield in a store and she was talking to just a customer that came in. And the customer was saying, I'm so overwhelmed with my wardrobe. She said, well, I've got a friend who just detoxed my wardrobe. Why don't I put you in touch with her? And I hadn't started a business at this point. And she messaged me, this random lady, and said, can you come and help me with my wardrobe? And I was like, I don't really have a business yet, but yes, okay. I said, I'll do it for like a minimal fee if you give me some amazing feedback, if you enjoy the experience. So it kind of started from there. And she actually had this amazing house, like quite an affluent lady. I spent 2 days with her. We went through everything. I spoke to her about her shopping habits. And I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling really energized by this because I really feel like I can help people. And I already knew some of the issues, but I realized there's a way to really make a difference in the way that someone shops with their shopping habits. And I helped her and it was so amazing. And she was so grateful. And at the end of it, she had lots of designer clothes and she said, can you help me with these? And I thought, well, yes, I think I can. So I said, well,
I love that. You said yes when you had nothing in place. That's such a lesson for sometimes just say yes.
I know. I was like, I'm going to find a way of doing something with them because I was like, I can't see these beautiful. Like, I remember there was a Helmut Lang like t-shirt, which was like a one-off. And I remember thinking, this is not just a t-shirt. This is like a beautiful, like vintage Helmut Lang t-shirt that I'm sure someone will love in their wardrobe. Loads of beautiful things. So I sort of said to her, well, look, I'll try and sell them for you she said, because otherwise I'm going to give them to charity. I was like, no, don't give them to charity. Someone needs to enjoy these. So I sold her items and it kind of started from there, really, because then I was in the process of leaving Harrods, wasn't quite sure what I was going to be doing, but knew it was going to be something with fashion, sustainability. And I signed up to a personal styling diploma because I thought I'd managed a personal shopping team. I'd kind of done the job, but I didn't have a qualification in it. So I thought I'll just do a personal styling diploma just to have it as my, additional string to my bow. So that and the wardrobe detox, that kind of, I was like, this is a bit of a package here, like helping women, the clothes, the pre-loved and the wardrobe detoxes. It kind of started from there.
Oh, fantastic. And and then also it sounds, so your business, what year was that your business started? Was it?
So it was, well, I helped this lady in end of 2019.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
We moved and then obviously went into lockdown. So that kind of.
And how was that for you? Because I've been speaking to a lot of women. Did you decide to put it on pause? Were you growing it around children? Were you homeschooling? How did COVID look for you?
Oh, well, we obviously had the kids weren't at school yet, so I had both of them at home. So it was quite challenging. Yeah. But for me, I think obviously I couldn't go out and see women. So that part of it, actually going out and doing wardrobe detoxes or connecting with people and networking was obviously very, very difficult. Yeah. But what I could do was I launched my website. And for me, in COVID, actually focusing on my business was a bit of an outlet, I think. So, you know, every time I had a spare minute or my husband came out of his office, I'd be like, have the kids. I'm trying to like launch a website. So actually
I can relate to that so much.
15 minutes, what can I cram in? So I actually built my website. I started reaching out to people to get pre-loved clothing. So I ended up focusing on the pre-love side because that was a lot more easier I could do that in lockdown. It kind of worked.
And that's really good, because that leads me on to it, because the women that may aspire to sell pre-loved and vintage goods, whether it's fashion or home items, can you talk a little bit about the process, about how you source and create your online shop?
Yeah. So mine kind of grew organically, so through contacts. Obviously working at Harrods and knowing obviously a lot of stylists as well from doing my diploma. I went out to contacts and said, look, anyone who has things in their wardrobe, like, can I sell stuff? And gradually people start giving me things. And it's kind of sort of snowballed from there now. And I'm quite fortunate that people contact me on Instagram saying, I've got some things, can you sell them for me? I also, if I do a wardrobe detox now, obviously that is an opportunity for me to take items. I live in a really lovely area and there are lots of lovely women here who know me as someone that can sell their clothes for them. And I think as everything's progressed, people are a lot more open to clearing their wardrobes out and letting go of things if they're not wearing them, which is brilliant. So I guess it started small, just through contacts, and kind of grew from there, really, with marketing and Instagram and the like. It is hard, though. I would say since I've been doing the pre-love side of it, there weren't that many people doing exactly what I'm doing back then, whereas now I think there's a lot more people wanting to do pre-loved. Yeah. And there are definitely some challenges for small businesses, because there are the likes of Depop and Vinted, which are brilliant because they are a very accessible way to buy and sell clothing. But for small businesses, it kind of pushes the price down quite a lot on selling pre-loved clothing, because on Vinted, people sell things for next to nothing. So we then have to justify our prices. So it's definitely not easy. I think a lot of people think you go into selling pre-loved and you just put something out there and someone just buys it, where there's a lot of marketing. There's a lot of, there's a lot that goes on in the background to try and get good prices for the client, justify our pricing, but also obviously market the items to make sure they sell.
No, thank you for being realistic on that, because I think that's I had a conversation with another business owner, and the Pilates PT was like, I was listening to it the other day, and she was like, I think people just think I turn up to a class and teach it, and it's the same. Like, I think I just get hold of these clothes. So especially you have connections as well that you could use, as I did as well, starting my business. And so I think there's that realism of, like, if you don't have those connections as well, it will take longer. And talking about all the hats you have to do as a business owner, have you found really challenging since you started being a business owner? What side of it?
I think you don't know until you step into it. You think you know what it's going to be like, but until you're in it, you're suddenly like, oh wow,
like parenthood.
Yeah, very similar. It's my second baby. I'm like, I don't have an assistant. I have to literally do everything. So, and it's fine if you're passionate about your business, you do it, but there are so many things in a business. I mean, I have learned so much about so many different things, and I've researched things, and it makes you realize just how capable you are as a person. I remember thinking I want to launch a website. I was like, I have no idea how people set up a website. I've got absolutely no idea. Like, what's a domain name? I mean, and you just end up slowly becoming an expert in everything. So when I did my first website, it's been redone since, I was so proud. I was like, I just did that by myself. I mean, I'm not a techie person, but I did that. But yeah, I end up packing everything myself. I run things to the post office myself. I respond to everyone's questions. I measure all the clothes. You literally do everything from A to Z. And it is a lot. It is a lot. I do things in the evenings, juggle around the children. But I think every now and again I reflect and I think, oh my God, I've got so many more skills now than I had in corporate, where I was quite focused on like a specific role.
Yeah. No, so it keeps you interested, but I think that's really important to share that if you have no budget, you can build a website if you've never done it before, things like that. But if you start a product-based businesses, you will be spending a lot of time in the post office, I think is a key one. And thank you for sharing that you work evenings and things, because I have that conversation a lot on here as well, of the realities of like, yes, business ownership is flexible, but if you have a goal, a dream, and you end up working evenings and things, and that's okay, as long as you are thinking about the balance. But how important to you has it been to get that flexibility? Because you briefly mentioned you've got a child with special additional needs, and it'll be really great to chat about that, because I know there will potentially be mums listening who are in the same boat as you, and to see how you do it around your business. Is it all on you as the mother or as that parent?
So Edie, my daughter, so she is 7, she's almost 8, and she was diagnosed with, I don't even know where the time's gone. She'll be double figures soon. I don't think I'll be able to.
Don't think about that.
So she was diagnosed with autism at age 3. So she was diagnosed early. So that's really so obviously, as I was starting my business, I knew that Edie had these challenges, and for me, the flexibility was really key. She has autism, but there are also other things. She has a potential genetic syndrome that's being looked at Great Ormond Street. She has hearing problems. She has lots of things. So we're seen at Great Ormond Street in the genetics team and the ENT team. She's got appointments like locally in different places. You know, we're always back and forth to the council about educational healthcare plans. It's a lot. For anyone who's listening who has a child with special needs, you know, it's another job on the side, making sure they're getting the right support. So I knew she had autism when I started my career of my own business, and I think part of that was I physically don't know. I mean, people do it, but if you have a full-time corporate job, it must be so hard to manage, because I'm quite fortunate that my job is flexible. So if Edie's got an appointment, I can take her to it and I can build my day around it. If she's got a speech and language therapy set of sessions, it's my responsibility to pick her up from school, take her to somewhere external to her speech and language, then drop her back to school. And they're usually like somewhere really inconvenient, like, I don't know, 12 o'clock or something. So I'm like, okay, it's the middle of my day, don't worry about that. That for me, that's a big part of running my business. And then on days like that, I do end up catching up in the evenings, because there's no, you know, and actually for me, I'm fortunate that I can do that. Because it's a lot. And as the mum, like Paul has, my husband has a full-time corporate job. I do the majority of Edie's care. I do the school pickup, I do the school drop-offs, and I also take her to all of her appointments. And I'm generally the person that deals with anyone follows me on Instagram. We've got a to and from with the council at the moment about her educational healthcare plan, and we're trying to get into a special school. So that kind of all falls on me as the mum. And in different relationships it might not, but in our sort of setup it kind of tends to. So that's obviously something else that I juggle around what I'm doing.
And thank you so much for sharing, because I think it's also raising that awareness of all the loopholes you have to go through of going to the council, and that a whole other job in itself, as well as the physically taking Edie to her appointments. I'm sure that would be so valuable for other mums to hear. Do you think you would have set up your business in the same way if you, I mean, it's your life now with Edie, so you don't know otherwise, but do you think you would have set up your business in the same way if you actually hadn't had this diagnosis from age 3?
I don't know. It might have affected, because I maybe wouldn't have as much need for flexibility. So it definitely affected my decision. Like, one of us, out of my husband and I, had to have a flexible job, so it definitely affected my decision to actually think, well, if one of us has got flexibility in their role and works for themselves, actually that makes our dynamic a lot easier. I mean, I think I would still be doing what I'm doing. To be honest, I love my role so much. I get constant frustration that I'm not pushing it forward quick enough. And people go, Maria, like, you're doing great. You're doing so many things. I'm like, I know, but I've got so many goals. And there is definitely frustrations on my side that I'm not reaching those goals as quickly as potentially I could, but I have to keep reminding myself that that's okay. I'm growing.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, I am growing. I'm doing different things. I'm just about to restructure slightly. So yeah, I think it's kind of being kind on yourself to kind of say, it's okay. You're doing lots of things. You're doing family stuff. You're doing business stuff. There'll be a time maybe when Edie does get into a special school and I'm not spending a lot of time fighting for her and I have more time to accelerate quicker. But it's kind of about balance, I think.
Yeah, and it's fantastic you've made it happen at all. When you go through these challenges, I can only imagine it is like, yeah, the fact that you've been able to do it and follow your passion and create this business for yourself is, it's fantastic. And I think something I wanted to ask as well, so your business came after babies, and many business owners I have on the podcast talk about the challenges and benefits of maternity leave as a business owner. Are you happy you did the maternity leaves in the corporate world? How did that look for you?
Yes, I think on reflection, yes, I'm pleased I had a corporate role for maternity leave. Because oh my gosh, the thought of having I worked in retail, so the maternity leave wasn't amazing, but it definitely meant that you're still getting some sort of income for a period of time whilst you're with your child. I think if you're self-employed, then having a child, there's a lot more pressure that you have to, you set yourself targets, you've got responsibilities, you've got clients, you can't really hand that over to anyone. So I can imagine I'm not having any more children, but if I did, I think I'd find it a lot harder running my own business, because I think the type of person you are to want to run your own business, you're a bit of if you want to be successful, it's like, come on, I can do anything. Like it's really hard to switch off if you're passionate about it. So I mean, I think you've done it, haven't you, with your second?
Yes, I did it with my second, and I really had to. There were circumstances that made me switch off, but I think I'm starting to learn maybe I'm just someone who doesn't switch off, and it actually serves me better, because then, like you, I've created a sort of flexible, different working hours, and my appointments are far less. Thankfully, I just deal with the usual, oh gosh, all the colds are coming around, or I've got to get their ears checked out sort of thing. But even with those appointments, I'm just like, great. I'm grateful that I may have sacrificed some maternity leaves in the past in exchange for that.
Yes. Yeah. And I do think, I guess we're fortunate that it's a lot. I'm finding that it's, in the world we live in today, it's kind of okay to be open about being flexible.
Yeah.
So, like on my social media, like I've realized that the more I talk about my personal life, actually people really connect with you. They're there for your business. They're there for sustainability and, tips on how to be a bit more conscious without the overwhelm. They're there for all that, but actually they buy into you as a person. And I've definitely been through periods where I've gone into Instagram or my social media and said, look, I was going to do I've got some pre-love stuff I was going to put on my website on Thursday, but for X, Y, and Z reasons, it's not going to be until next week because I'm having a stressful week, and I think we're quite fortunate that we live in a time where actually people are like, that's fine. Like, you run your own business, you manage a family, you're juggling, people kind of resonate to it and understand it.
Yeah, and then you find who your audience are as well, which is what I really like about you. Like you say, you do share all the pre-love side of it, which you have one audience for, but also your motherhood journey and your journey with Edie. I think it's you create this audience who will then buy from you, kind of thing, or buy from you in various different ways, whether it's like an online course or something like that, which it's going through that process of learning how to share. Like, how did you feel the first time really sharing about your family online? Because I think there'll definitely be people listening to this that'll be like, oh, I love hearing Maria's story, but then when I share mine, it just feels so cringe. I think I'm probably asking for myself there.
I've actually, well, especially initially, I found it really uncomfortable because I'm not a extrovert. Some people just love being, oversharers and what have you. And I'm not really, like, I'm not shy, but I definitely am not someone who's like, look at me. So I definitely found it a bit uncomfortable, but actually you kind of find your groove, and I've kind of found what I'm comfortable with. And you realize that people have my Instagram following, like, so lovely, so supportive. And I realized that actually it's okay. There are things that I probably wouldn't put on Instagram, but definitely little snippets of life I feel a lot more comfortable with. And especially because I'm also quite passionate about autism awareness. And I think I've had so many parents reach out to me, especially this week, because I had a bit of a rant about like the situation we're going through at the moment, the special school. And I've had so many mums reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, I'm going through something similar. It's so nice to see someone that you think has got this like ideal, business and it's all going swimmingly, to see that actually they've got loads of challenges in the background as well. And they're quite similar to challenges that lots of people are going through. So I kind of think it's difficult, but I'm glad I do it. I think there's definitely some positives of putting yourself out there.
No, yeah, thank you. Because I've got a podcast to come out today that mentions I'm getting EMDR, which is like a trauma therapy from after my child's NICU experience. And I'm like, oh, is that too much information? And I'm like, no, I think actually that then the people that don't like that, they're not my audience maybe. And it's just part of the journey of how I didn't just launch a podcast, or there was all this stuff going on the side of it. And
also I think like whoever I speak to knows someone who's either got an autistic child or knows someone who's got an autistic child. So it touches on everyone. And it's a bit like your experience. I think everyone knows someone who's either had a traumatic birth or knows someone who's had a very traumatic experience with birth. So you kind of think, oh, it's very private, but actually it touches so many people. I think people are grateful to kind of go, oh my gosh, I'm not the only person, or I know someone who's going through similar. But yeah, it is. I think we're probably quite similar in that we're like, yay, but actually, but
I think a lot of people are, because I think you could easily come across as a bit of an extrovert, and you're like, no. And I'm going to be quite open here. I don't know about you, but also since tracking my cycle, I think I've noticed periods of the month where I'm like, no, I should not be oversharing. Then other times I'm like, everyone should know.
We'll all see the cycle now.
Or my team will, at least, for sure. But I think that's been mind-blowing of like, no, that's just my hormones.
I feel very passionate about this today, and I can't
now I just want to hide away and pretend it didn't happen. I love that you're also with sharing your week and everything like that. How do you make I'm interested to know, because when this will be going out, the summer holidays will be over, how do you kind of make school holidays work?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I've only had 2 summers so far where I've had to manage school holidays. It was a bit different so as the school holidays approach, I usually have a little panic because I kind of block it out. And then people kept saying, oh, it's only a few weeks till the summer holidays. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't cope. So I will usually book them into a holiday camp. Well, I didn't last year. I didn't have to last year. But this year I've booked them into a holiday camp for a week. So that's like 1 week.
Oh, great.
We're going on holiday for 10 days. So that's also, like
takes care of,
takes care of a certain amount of days. Obviously, I'll probably still be replying to messages and, doing bits remotely, but that's fine. And then the rest of it, we're very lucky that my mother-in-law and father-in-law live quite close. So last year, I haven't touched on this with them yet, but I'm sure they know it's coming. I'll be saying like, once a week, can you look after the children? So I get a full day to myself. I think last year they looked after Edie on her own one day, then Arlo on his own, because I find I can kind of still work if I've got one of the children. Work when I've got both of them, and I found that was a bit easier for me, because then I get 2 days as opposed to them having both children on one day. And the rest of it is kind of juggling. I might get my mum over for come and visit. I love seeing it. Can you look after the kids? Now that you're home,
I can relate to that. Oh, let's come for a visit. Come on the Thursday, so I have 2 days to work, and then I'll spend time with you on the weekend.
Do you fancy taking the kids out? No, I'm not going to come. Do you?
Or I'll come, but I'll bring my laptop and sit somewhere else.
So there's a lot of that. I mean, when I think about it, it's hard, especially with Edie with her special needs. She's very challenging in the summer.
I was going to say, she goes to camp then. Is that, does she feel happy going to camps and things like that? Or do you have... Okay.
The first time. So we found a little, well, it's in a local school, so it's not residential or anything. But they said they've got children with special needs, because sometimes it's hard to find places that will have, you know, they kind of needs one-to-one. So she can go there, which is brilliant. And I guess we'll play it by ear. She's actually, bless her little cotton sock, she's actually quite resilient. So she doesn't like change, but she's also okay with some change. It's very, very hard to pinpoint or explain. But I kind of think if she's with Arlo and she goes to like a camp, the first day she might be about sorts, but actually she'll probably quite enjoy all the attention and all the activities. So that's what I'm hoping.
Is Edie your first child or your second child? And did you notice a difference in your early years experience and maternity leave with either of them? Do you mind me asking?
No, not at all. Yes, I did notice a massive difference. So Edie was my first child. So I obviously first time mum, and she just wasn't doing what everyone, well, she basically screamed from the moment she came out of me. All the nurses were trying to like calm her down. She just wouldn't stop screaming. She wouldn't feed. So there were like challenges from the beginning, and then she pretty much screamed for, I mean, a year basically, to the point that I'd go for like nurses appointments or doctors, you know, like pediatrician appointments, and I'd go to the hospital and I'd have to stop 3 times on the way, take her out the car seat because she's screaming so much, get her back in. I'd have strangers come up saying, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to get to the hospital, hang on, I have to keep stopping because she's screaming so much, sounds like she's choking. And then I'd go to one point, I think we went to the hospital just for like a routine appointment, and the doctor came out and was like, who is that child that's screaming? I was like, over here. And they're like, how long has she been screaming like this for? And I was like, since 7 o'clock this morning. And it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they were like, right, we're going to keep you in. We're going to do, you know, like, so it was kind of like an ongoing thing. So as a first time mom, I was kind of very much like, my child doesn't like me. I'm doing something wrong. Obviously we didn't know it was autism at the time. I thought maybe it's colic. You know, like we went through all the things.
Yeah.
And it's very hard, I think, when you see a group of mums doing the same things and their kids all following the same path, and you've got a child that's quite different. It's very hard. I found it very traumatic, and I've been to counselling too, obviously different, but because for me I felt like it was maybe I was the issue, and actually bless Edie, but she was the issue. Like, she had autism, the whole world was completely overwhelming for her. So my whole year, like, I didn't really make that many friends during my first maternity leave because I just couldn't do things. I didn't really go to places because she screamed so much. I think I remember going to a coffee shop once and I was asked to leave.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly pleasant, to be honest. And then I got pregnant very quickly with Arlo. And yeah, and he was just like a little delight. I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is what, okay, it's not me. Right, okay.
Oh God.
Fine. And so he, like, neurotypical, you know, like, he cries, you pick him up, you burp him, he kind of settles, he has a bit of colic, but it's all kind of manageable, and it kind of put everything into perspective for me.
Was it quite healing for you in some sort of way, like just for your self-blame? Because I think a lot of women, I can personally identify to that, when what happened with my child and his collapse, it was like my body did something that caused this, you know. And yeah, it may potentially quite healing by the sounds of it, having your second.
Yeah, and I think for us it's probably quite good that Arlo came along quite quickly, because we hadn't had too much time to actually realize that Edie was on the spectrum or anything. I just remember thinking, like, Edie was IVF, and I remember thinking, right, we need to know whether we can have a natural child, otherwise we're going to have to go for IVF, and so let's just try straight away. It's going to take years, and it didn't take years. So I think the fact that he came along quite quickly was fortunate, because I think if we'd have maybe had Edie on her own for like 3 years, we might have been put off having a second, because it was obviously quite stressful having a special needs child. Whereas we were kind of in the flow of it, and I was pregnant suddenly. And then, you know, Arlo came along, and actually, for me, I suddenly was like, okay, well, yeah, it's not me. I haven't done anything wrong, because I did exactly the same things with Arlo CD. So,
they're very different people. I think that's it. It's the realization. It's like, I think pregnancy's all on you, and then you birth these individuals who turn out to be not just a reflection of you completely.
How can you create 2 completely different human beings? It's mind boggles.
Yeah, I'm fortunate with both my boys, but I look at them both and they literally like will do the opposite of each other
Yeah,
sometimes. I'm like, that's you're so different,
yeah.
and you do parent differently. I think even I from my experience, I see
Mhm.
like my second child won't respond in the same way my first child to certain
Yeah,
things. That's
yeah.
interesting point
We've got,
because I bet you particularly see you have to parent differently.
oh yeah, oh absolutely. And there's definitely some guilt around the attention Arlo gets versus the attention Edie gets.
Yeah,
But we've got like Edie is very she has no sense of danger. Like she will, if there's a massive, massive, I don't know, slide, she'll be at the top of it within 30 seconds and like flinging herself off it. Like she's got no fear. She'll put her hand in a dog's mouth, doesn't, oh, what do teeth feel like? Like she literally has no fear. Whereas my son is the most fearless person in the universe. Like if there's a fly in the room, he's having a heart attack. So we laugh sometimes because we kind of say like we have our extremes with our children with how they deal with like anything that's a bit scary is so opposite. Like it's just how are they from the same family? I don't know.
yeah, I know. And then you're like, we're in between.
Yeah.
We're not even. How did this happen? And so you've been so open and sharing kind of what your juggle looks like, especially with the fact you have a special needs child. And I know this will be so helpful. So what I'd love to have a little talk about, which I have, is like, how do you feel about the term, how do you do it? Because I feel there will be people that ask you that from such a lovely place, which is why
Yeah.
I don't mind being asked it, because I feel like I'm always being asked it from a nice place or a place of desperation of what's your secret kind of thing when there is no secret. But yeah, how do you feel about that term, and what wisdom can you share other than the fantastic stuff you already have?
Yeah. So it is nice when people say that because you think, well, actually, people can't see the flapping around in the background that's going on.
Yeah,
But I think it's very difficult to do everything. So whilst things might look quite seamless in the forefront, there's always nothing is easy. Basically, everything sort of takes dedication and effort. And I think, obviously with small business owners, we talk to lots of other small business owners, and I've never spoken to one small business owner that feels like they've nailed it and we're all kind of going, oh, I wish that was progressing faster, or I wish I had some more time for that, or I feel like I've dropped the ball on that. But I guess when people say that, I guess it helps me kind of go, okay, well, actually, my storefront is okay. Like people don't need to know. Only I know the bits that are not happening.
yeah,
The world doesn't. So I guess it's only my own expectations that I'm letting down.
yeah,
But yeah, I think whether you've got a corporate job or you're running your own business, there are challenges and there are juggles,
yeah.
and you'll probably always feel like you're dropping something along the way. But as long as you're moving forward and you're happy and your family are happy and you're making money, which is what we work and we have businesses for, then we're obviously on the right track.
I love that, like the making money part, especially women. It's like, we are making money from our businesses and should be so proud of that. And I think that's such a great takeaway from that, is nothing is easy. And I think whether you're a business owner and a parent, and both they
Yeah,
both come together like that. None of it's easy the
yeah,
whole way kind of thing, but you get such joy from
yeah.
them. So I think that's really valuable as well, of like, this isn't easy. And but I don't think working in a lot of corporate world roles and parenthood is easy. But
Yeah.
and I think this is maybe like a personal question for me, but I think it's a great question. But what are your tips for like a sleep deprived, exhausted, tired mum who does want to look great and comfortable in their clothing, but
Yeah.
also wants to be sustainable in their choices?
Yeah. So this is basically the person that I tend to help.
Yay.
So the first thing is, I think a lot of people think of sustainability and get completely overwhelmed by it and kind of go, oh my gosh, it's such a huge subject that it's very easy to do nothing, because doing something is just, what is sustainability? Is it fabric? Is it the ethical side? Do I need to know where my clothes are made? Do I not need to shop on the high street anymore? Like the subject is so huge and it can be very overwhelming that people tend to not do anything. So I guess my tip would be to digest small bits of information, but don't feel that you need to change every aspect of your life to fit into a sustainable lifestyle. Because taking like small steps in the right direction is enough. So I always say to people, you know, I on my Instagram account, I give snippets of information that you might not be aware of, because I'm party to this information because it's the world that I live in. So I was saying to someone, like, you know, when you send things back to Shein, like someone, I mean, please don't shop at Shein, but if someone buys from a big fast fashion brand and they send it back, they do a whole bulk order of items and then they send back the stuff they don't want. There's been lots of research to say that a lot of those items don't actually end up being resold because they're low cost. If you're buying it from quite a low cost brand, the cost of actually going through those items, steaming them, pricing them back up, packaging them back up, getting them back on the shelf actually costs more than the item itself. So there's been lots of reports say many of these items end up going straight to landfill. So like one tiny thing you can do to be more sustainable is actually just be more careful in what you buy, and, you know, take some time to understand things like that. So actually, you know what, I could do a massive order and send loads of stuff back, but I'm not going to. I'm going to order a few things and really think about them so that the chances of returning them are smaller. But the other two things I would say that I think really help people is shopping in fast fashion on our high street today. It's made people lose what their own unique style is. So there are so many styles in the shops. There are so many fleeting trends. There are so many clothes. And there's also Instagram and social media and posts, people, you know, telling us we should be wearing, you know, whatever. But actually, what do you like? What do you feel good in as an individual? Because it doesn't matter if it's not the same as everyone else. I think as soon as you connect to that deep down and really accept the things that you feel great in, like, are you feminine? Actually, are you more minimalistic in the way that you shop? You know, there's lots of things, but really thinking about what do I feel amazing in? And once you've tapped into that, it makes it a lot easier to shop more targeted rather than overwhelming your wardrobe with lots of different things that you might think, oh, I bought that because I saw it on someone, but it's not really me. Why have I bought a bodycon dress? I've never worn a bodycon dress, you know, like, so I think there's a lot of time to actually take a step back and think, well, what's my lifestyle now? You know, if you've got kids, if you're running your own business, if you're not wearing in the corporate world, make sure that your wardrobe is aligned with your current lifestyle, and really take some time to think about what you put on and what you feel good in. And there's nothing wrong with sticking to that. Don't get swayed by all the noise that there is in marketing telling you need things that probably aren't your lifestyle and aren't your style. And the other thing, the last thing, if you're in that sort of thing where you're overwhelmed, doing a wardrobe detox, honestly, if you can take some time out to do a wardrobe detox, owning less in your wardrobe will definitely make your wardrobe calmer. And it also helps you reaffirm what your style is, because you start realizing, oh, I've worn that loads because I really love it. I've never worn that. So yeah, so wardrobe detox, also I always say, although it feels a bit time consuming, it definitely, if you can find the time to do it, definitely is the first step of getting on top of things.
I guess imagine it really helps you get ready in the morning as well, with that, not having that clutter, and you can just be like, here's my like set outfits, and it's just like, that's just one thing, especially if you're a busy business owner and mum, that's something just to take away from your thinking. And I've started doing that recently, even just planning my outfits, because I'm like, I don't have to think in the morning then.
Absolutely. And if you know everything that you own, I find, obviously I go into people's houses and go into their wardrobes, and I've seen lots of different setups, but majority of people don't know everything that they own, which, you know, I've managed my wardrobe the way that I do now for like many years now, and I know everything that's I know every item that I own. I might put some winter stuff away and swap it over, but I know, like, I don't have so many clothes that I don't know what I own, so it makes it a lot easier. As soon as you are literally have things bulging, like, of course it's impossible to get dressed, but how do you even pair things together? So yeah, owning less is definitely the way forward. Like once you get on top of it, you'll think, oh my God, how did I manage it? But also you then get used to letting go of things, which is another thing we're not great at. You hold on to things that you wore, you might have your dress that you wore to your 25th or something. You're never going to wear it again. So either sell it on, get it out of your wardrobe, or put it in a little memory box if it's got sentimental value. But I think when you've got a smaller wardrobe, you find it easier to let go of things because you think you don't want to get it overwhelmed again.
No, thank you for sharing that. And also, like you said as well, I think it's so valuable, which other sustainable business owners have shared on here as well. It's like release the guilt. Don't try and be great at everything. Like, don't, if you're doing one small change, then you're trying, and we're all busy people at the end of the day in the modern world we're trying to live in. So just trying to do something like a wardrobe detox or something like that will really help, more than you think, and will add that sustainable lifestyle that you're hoping to achieve.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. So Maria, thank you so much. So what is next for you? Is there anything you can share with us about what's next for you and your business?
So I feel like I'm a bit of a pivotal position at the moment. So I've obviously been doing the pre-love side for a long time. And this is something else I guess I've learned as I've gone through my business, is that it's okay to sort of swip and restructure every now and again to make sure you're on track. So over the summer, I'm going to get someone to help me with my pre-loved, because I've realized that it takes a lot of my time, and it's actually taking time away from some of the other areas that I'm really passionate about moving forward. So over the summer, I have a lovely girl who's going to come and support me with pre-love, so then I can focus more on helping women overcome wardrobe overwhelm. So I launched an online plan that is affordable for people who are either too busy or don't have the money to be getting someone to physically come into their house and help them. And I launched it, and I've had amazing reviews, but I then paused it because I actually realized I didn't have the time to manage it as well as I wanted to. So I'm going to be relaunching that, which I'm excited about, in the summer, but actually making sure I have the time to do it properly and support people properly through it. So that's my focus. So Instagram, social media, definitely more about tips on how to be more sustainable without the overwhelm, and sort of make better choices, and a bit more education, I think. So that's
I'm here for the education.
The future holds me.
So where can people find you if they're interested in the online plan and want to get some more tips about sustainable wardrobes?
So I'm Slow Style Mindset. So Instagram is Slow Style Mindset, and my website is slowstylemindset.com, and / the plan, if you want to have a look at the plan and see what that entails. But so social media or my website, and obviously I'm always open for people to get in touch directly if they've got any questions.
Amazing. Well, no, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing both your business and your parenthood journey, Maria. And I really look forward to hearing more about what comes next for you.
Thank you for having me. It's been really lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.